Hi, I'm here with Aaron Pilkington to talk about what life was like when he lived in the South. And Aaron, what can you tell me about the South? Like, what's your point of view on it?
To me, I think the South is it's just such a unique part of the United States, and to me, it seems it's very like family oriented. It's very close knit, close community. Because I grew up in Arkansas, and even when I went back this summer to visit some old family and friends, like you get this connection of how it's everyone kind of like everyone knows everyone kind of thing. And maybe in bigger cities you don't really get that, but all across the South, that's kind of the mentality. It's you see everyone at Friday night at the football game, and you see them all on church on Sunday, and it seems like a slower pace too. You know what I mean, as opposed to like the North, and it seems like people are more polite. I think the women are more attractive down south, too, but it just it's kind of a deeply religious area, and I definitely would say. Very hard working, but relax at the same time. I guess it's kind of like when they're working, they're hard working, but when they can relax, they can, and so it just doesn't seem as like industrialist as like the North is, But so I mean that's kind of like the South to me, I guess is a good way to put it.
Now, when you were growing up in the South, like in school, what was the teachings of the Civil War like? Was it different than how the North perceives it to be?
Yeah, I would generally say so. I mean, obviously, I was educated about it when I was younger in the South. But when I was taking this Old South class this year at W&J, we had a bunch of people who, I mean, they're all Yanks. So the way they taught us, it's really different. And when you're younger, it's kind of easy to gloss over history. Civil War is about slavery. We won. Slavery was abolished. Thank Lincoln. Yada yada. And, in the South, though, it's kind of taught, really it was more about states' rights. Slavery is just one of many issues. It's not completely abandoned, but they do, they like to gloss over it because, it's kind of like it's a shared shame. And, you think about it, too, like, my great-grandfather fought for the Confederacy as a cavalryman. He was actually a sergeant. And, it's kind of hard to think about your grandfather as, I was one girl put it, they were all traitors. And, it's just hard to say, like, I never even heard that like, Confederates were, traitors. And yeah, I guess in a sense you could say they were. In us, the way it's kind of taught to us is these were people who were standing up for what they believed in, and they fought valiantly, and they lost, and they, were overcome, and, then they just went back to being Americans and accepted their loss. That's kind of, I guess, how it's taught. And I feel like it is a little different because, they do like to, not put so much emphasis on the slavery aspect of it as opposed to, the North, which I think does put a lot about it because, I mean, people do like the stories of abolitionists, this and that. But, I mean, I learned, when I was younger because, slavery was kind of on the outs anyways. It wasn't very economical. It was more about states' rights, and this and that. And so, you get a different view of it, So.
Thanks you, Aaron. Hi, I'm here with Steffi, and Steffi, what was it like living in the South?
Well, I lived in Southern Virginia, and it was different because I was from the North. I'd be called a Yankee a lot, because I definitely had the Northern perspective of things, but when I started living in the South, I just started learning that they had different perspectives on everything.
And did the girls have like a different kind of mentality down there, like kind of like the Southern Belle kind of thing going on?
Where I was in Virginia, the girls didn't have a Southern Belle aspect. They had more of I'm a redneck girl, I'm country. They would have the Confederate flag, the rebel flag. But my friend Erin, she's from Southern Alabama, and she was what you would call a modern day Southern Belle. She was very Christian. She didn't like digging. She didn't like going outside. She stayed in the house. She did a lot of chores and just listened to her parents a lot. So that's like more of a Southern Belle nowadays.
So with this whole redneck thing, like what did kids do for fun?
I know we had an area called Poquoson, and they would waved their rebel flags everywhere at the beginning of home games for them. For football, and they did some pretty terrible things. It was more of a racist community for them. But I mean, I know my redneck friends used just to love to go hunting and just going out.
Did you see a lot of racism where you lived?
Yes, where I was in Poquoson, we had an issue. Like, I was in Yorktown, but in Poquoson, there was like 2 or 3 black people that went there, and as a joke, my senior year, they voted a black boy or an African American boy president. Not president. They voted him president, and they voted him homecoming king as a joke.
Really, that's terrible. Anything else about like your where you live? Like, did you like living there compared to like where you live now in the north?
It's definitely warmer. I like it where it's warm, but I prefer the north because everybody is a lot better. I mean, there's nobody's making fun of each other. You don't have the issues with blacks. I mean, in the south, you have issues with everybody else too as well. I mean, like. In the South, like, I have friends that are Latino, they get made fun of just for having accents because they didn't sound American, and it's, when I come up here, you don't have that issue. There's a lot of people they get along easier, unlike they do in the South. It's a different society, basically, still today.
I see. Well, thank you, Steffi.
No problem.
Hi, I'm here with Carl Hiss.
Hello.
Carl, I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about Southern stereotypes? Like, how do you look at them?
Well, I visited southern states a couple times, North Carolina and Texas mostly, and I have to say that they hold pretty true. They have a very different view of masculinity, and that Southern pride whole thing could tie into it, where people really make rash decisions to uphold this sort of pride.
Okay, like, can you elaborate on that? Like, what pride do you mean? Like, is it kind of like a post-Civil War type of thing?
Definitely,
or like...
it's definitely a post-Civil War. When you're down in the South, you see a lot more of the stars and bars, or the Southern Cross, as it's called, and also there's a lot more racism per se. There's a very more masculine view of a man, where it's more of a physical type thing, or more of just a, like, can you provide? Not like, what do you do? It's just, can you provide, period. And I think that kind of, like, breeds a kind of, like, low-income life or whatever.
Now, I know you told me that your grandfather lived in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Can you, did he have any stories about living in the South?
Well, part of the South my grandfather lived in, there wasn't very much racial diversity, but he did come into a lot of conflict with that sort of Southern pride thing, and especially in his church, because in the South, the church is definitely like a major social unit. And there was one patriarch there who, they call him a patriarch. He really wasn't a father. He was more of like a king over his family, and his daughters couldn't do certain things, and if the church wasn't preaching exactly what he said, he had to change. He left and made his own church, and it was very like a strong, like, pig-headed type thing that you really don't see it as often up here.
Do you think that like people in the North kind of put Southern women on a pedestal? Do you think that like the whole Southern belle thing? Do you think there's stereotypes in that also?
Yeah, I definitely think it's romanticized in a way. I mean, people definitely. There's like that whole like Gone with the Wind and all that stuff, where it's like, oh, they're from the South, it must be a lady and all that. And I think that, ladies in the South, I don't think they're just, I think they're more subservient, which is why they seem more desirable to some men, because they're raised that way. It's not like a equal parts thing. It's like a woman provides for the man who provides for the family, and that's their role. I think that's why people have put them on that pedestal, is because that's the traditional view of femininity, which is so desirable to men.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
Well, thank you, Kevin.